Hello, folks. Welcome to the Genuinely Interested podcast. My name is Roy Bensby, and I'm your host. And I want to explain a little bit about the podcast before we start the show this week. This podcast is an opportunity for me to speak with some of the most interesting people I know that I can find on the internet. So, either with amazing talents or achievements or just unbelievable life stories or invaluable insights into areas that they have dedicated their lives to studying. I sit down with these amazing individuals from all across the world. Really, I've talked to people from Slovenia to the Czech Republic to Australia to countries in Africa and South America, really just all over the world. And I try to ask them the questions that will hopefully help you extract something valuable or learn something new or just get inspired by. And I do hope that you do get inspired by these talks with some sort of a call to action, maybe change something that you wanted to change for a while, or even just enjoy, detaching from the world for an hour and listening to some great conversations. So whatever it is that you get from this, I do hope that you extract something from it and enjoy the conversations. All these episodes are available on all the major podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Google, and the rest of them. You can also find the episodes on my website, which is roybensv.com. You can find a lot of other information about me there as well, from photos to a little bit more insights into who I am, if you're interested. And, you can always go to social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me there. I'm pretty active on both those platforms, although the only ones I have. And I try to post regularly so you can stay up to date. And also be sure to put your email on the website. I shoot emails out with updates, news, any new current information that I have will be sent via those emails and social media platforms. So, yeah, make sure you're in the loop. Thanks for tuning in. This week we have Linda from Life by Linda, which is a travel vlog website that she has, and all her social media channels, I believe, are under the same name: YouTube, Instagram, and the website itself. So I'll make sure to put the links in the show notes, make it easy for you guys to check it out. And she essentially, Linda, a couple of years ago, decided that she wants to travel, be a digital nomad. She sold all her earthly possessions, the house, car, maybe? I'm not sure. I don't remember. But sold everything she had and just decided to start traveling. She went to South America, and then the rest is history. She's been traveling for the last 2 years, still working off of her computer, being a digital nomad. And that's the way she makes her income. And I think a lot of people might think that, oh, you're traveling and not really working. But I think COVID has proved to everyone that all you really need is a computer and an iPhone. And that's pretty much all you need. You could use a few other tools, but those are the essentials. And you could really work from anywhere. You could be on a boat, you could be in Bulgaria, or you can be in New York City. The outcome is going to be the same. You're going to give the same amount of input, the same amount of Zoom conference calls, the same amount of illustration or graphic design or whatever freelance work that you want to do. All the tools are there for you to do that. So it's a brave new world, and more people, I believe, are going to start implementing and exploring these type of lifestyles. I mean, obviously people are working from their homes, so they're not physically in the office, but I think there's going to be some sort of a tipping point where people are just going to be tired of waking up, being in the office, meaning being in their home all day, and they're just gonna decide to maybe I can work somewhere near a beach, maybe I can work somewhere near a mountain. So I do think we're gonna start to see a shift in the movement and in where people are staying, living, working from. I just don't think we're going to be as stagnant as we've been because of, in the past we needed that proximity to the workplace, not as necessary anymore. And there's just, other than, I mean, if you don't have kids, you really don't have a reason to stay in one place unless you want to. But for the most of us, traveling is just such an alluring concept. And if you can combine that with still working, still having an income, and you're young and you don't have kids and you don't really have too many commitments, fuck it. Try it. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? Traveling, I feel like, is a super educational, life altering experience if you do it right. And everyone should try it. And not for a week or 2 weeks, for an extended period of time. And that's what Linda's been doing for a while. She loves it. She herself said that it has changed her completely, and I could it's easy to see why. Going to so many different places, meeting people, seeing things you never thought you would see, and it's bound to change how you look at things. And it's bound to change your outlook on the world, and maybe even how you view yourself with regards to the places that you stay, or with regards to the life that you led. I would say it's transformational. We covered a lot of topics, mainly around traveling, around her traveling and the places she's been, and kind of what her bucket list and some of the lessons maybe that she's learned being a solo female traveler. There are certain maybe precautions that she needed to take. And what she essentially does is give people an idea of how to travel on a budget. I think a lot of travel vloggers or a lot of people always show you the high end, the luxurious, the unattainable. But I personally like to see the raw, the authentic, because that's what traveling is. It's not always luxurious. For the most part, it's not, especially when you're flying to the other side of the world, carrying a lot of baggage with you, and then you have to drive to somewhere else or take a boat. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of fun, but it's not as perhaps as luxurious as some make it out to be in their super edited, superimposed videos that they produce. So I like raw, I like authentic, and she really gives an insight into what that's like, how to travel on a budget in a lot of different places and still get the same amount of fulfillment and enjoyment. So I urge you to go check her out. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. And without further ado, here is Linda. Enjoy the episode.
The Genuinely Interested Podcast.
Hey, Linda.
Hello.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Can't complain from sunny Greece,
I know. I told you before we went live. I was like, just don't tell me about Greece. Greece is like one of those places. I've been there twice, I believe. Yeah, I
Okay.
think twice. And I love it. I mean, I absolutely like. My dream is to one day have a house somewhere in Greece, just by the water. Have a little olive tree in the backyard. Um, so yeah, I don't want to hear too much about it. No, I'm joking. I want to hear a lot about it, but it's just I'm envious. I'm envious.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Whereabouts in Greece have you been?
Dude, I couldn't even tell you. I'm so bad with names. We just went my friend had a boat and we just did like island hopping,
Oh,
and we didn't sleep on the islands. We slept on the boat, but yeah, during the day we would just go and we would swim around the different parts, and we would dock near like really cool places. And we kind of crisscrossed. We did a little bit of Turkey as well, which was also beautiful. And yeah, that whole area is just beautiful. But I'm really, really, really bad, especially with long names. I'm horrible. Yeah, unfortunately.
no, that sounds awesome though. But yeah, no, I get it with the names. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the places I'm going to correctly.
Where are you now?
So I think it's called Elafonisos. It's a really small island, if that is how you pronounce it. No idea. But yeah, it's in the Peloponnese area, so that much I know.
And what's the weather like now? And what's the situation with COVID? Are they allowing people to come in?
Yeah. So as far as I know, Greece, for me, it was kind of, okay, so we'll start with the weather. The weather is fantastic. It's still like 30 degrees during the day and sunny all the time. We've had like no rainy days here, maybe just a few.
That's like around 90 for the American friends that don't know what Celsius is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I lived in the States for so long, and like now I've been here in Europe for so long. I'm back to Celsius, and
Celsius is the way to go. Fahrenheit, I don't get it. It's like 0 and 100, freezes at 0, boils at 100. Celsius,
right?
it's
It just
freezing.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So with the whole COVID situation, obviously, like there hasn't been like an overwhelming amount of tourism here. I've heard like even places like Santorini and Mykonos that are like the really big popular places to go, even those have been less busy than normal. And for me, in order to get in, I needed, because I crossed via the land border and it's different. Like land borders are different than traveling by plane and stuff. It's just such a minefield these days. But yeah, so I had to have a negative COVID test before I came in, which I had to give at the border. I needed to fill out a passenger locator form, which basically just meant they needed to have my address, at least for the first night in Greece. And then I got tested again at the border. So it's, you have to jump through the hoops, but when you have crystal clear waters and 30 degrees, it kind of makes it worth it, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth. And I mean, I feel like it's almost, I don't know if it's a better isolation mechanism that they have, but because they're all sparsed out, right? It's all like people live on islands. It's not like they congregate together like a mainland place. Perhaps that's like a better way to,
Yeah,
not get COVID in massive numbers.
I mean, that's kind of what I've also tried to do, It's, I've gone to the cities, but mostly I've stayed in like really remote places. I think just for like personal safety reasons, I guess, like with the whole situation, because cities are obviously much stricter and, like here on these small little places, you barely even feel any presence of COVID, I have to say. Like everybody's super relaxed about it because it's just really small populations and whatnot. So it's definitely different in the smaller areas and less populated ones for sure.
Yeah, it's you might start like a whole tourism trend now. People will hear this and be like, "We want to go there. That sounds awesome," and they'll start bringing COVID, and then that's the end of the island.
Oh no, yeah.
So yeah, maybe take us back a little bit. I know you're a travel vlogger, if that's, I don't know if that's how you want to, if you call yourself, but essentially it's what it is, or a digital nomad somewhere, I guess, somewhere in the middle of that. But kind of maybe take us back. How did this whole thing start? Where did you grow up? How did you get into the lifestyle?
Okay. Yeah, that's a long story. Let's see.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah. So, originally I was born in Germany and we lived there until I was 12 and my family decided to immigrate to the US. So I guess I've never been like a super settled person, I guess, like when you're 12 years old and you have to move and make new friends. Like I wasn't one of those kids. I was like, no, I don't want to leave my friends. I was like, yeah, let's go. That sounds great. New adventure. I was ready for it. So yeah. And ever since then, I've just really enjoyed traveling. My parents always traveled a lot with us as kids. And after I graduated from the university, I went and lived in the UK for a couple of years. And that's where I really got into travel because, compared to the US, it's way easier to travel in Europe, the short flights, the Ryanair and EasyJets and all of that.
Yeah.
And it was much more affordable. So I just kind of fell in love with the fact that I could spend a weekend in Italy and come back and work, the 9 to 5 like I did. And it just kind of grew into more of a passion then. And I realized that the 9 to 5 job wasn't really gonna satisfy all the stuff that I wanted out of life. And so it was actually a long time ago. So it was about 8 years ago that I quit the 9 to 5 and I started working just online remotely as an independent contractor. But then I did the whole settled life again. So I had to move back to the States and even though like I was working online, I had a house, had a dog and all of that kind of whole settled life stuff. And then it was about 2 years ago, I decided that, travel was that important to me and it was my passion in life. And in order to do that, I had to take the risk and just sell everything and like live the lifestyle that I was set up to live already, with the remote job. So yeah, so I took the plunge. I sold the house. I got rid of all my stuff, and
Wow.
I left on a one-way ticket to South America. And honestly, I haven't looked back. It was super scary, one of the scariest things I've ever done, but it's
Yeah.
definitely been the right choice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, you literally sold everything you had. You didn't like rent it out. You were like, I'm going on to a new life and leaving this one behind.
Yeah, so yeah, I sold the house. I have a storage unit with some stuff that I obviously couldn't take with me, but didn't want to get rid of. Like just childhood photos and things like that. And yeah, and then I just downsized my life into, I would say it was a big backpack. And obviously now as time's gone on, because of this, I've kind of started to do, like I said, the travel vlogging a lot more. So now I also travel with camera gear, which is not that nomad friendly.
Yeah.
So I have a lot more luggage these days, but yeah, still trying to move around as often as possible.
So the travel vlog, because I know a lot of people, that's their main, it's a creative outlet, but it's also the main income source while doing the thing they love, which is traveling the world. But for you, I mean, you had a different job before. This is just like, I mean, I'm assuming something extra that you like doing, and then maybe you started to gain some sort of attraction on. But what were you doing before you started traveling?
So it's basically, I've just been working online for the last 8 years, and I'm a virtual assistant, which sounds so boring, and it kind of is, but like it pays the bills and it helps me
Yeah.
travel. And so yeah, like the vlogging and stuff isn't my main source of income at all, just because it's such a slow kind of long-term goal, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, most digital nomads like all have jobs similar to mine, where you can just work location independently, I guess.
Mhm.
So yeah, my day job is super boring. I organize people's calendars and book their flights, and then I get to book myself flights as a result. Well, not recently, but
And you have just clients all over the world?
yeah, so I've worked with people. Most of them are based in the UK, just because I kind of established myself there. That was when I quit. My 9 to 5 was there, and then I kind of started working in that field. So that's where most of my clients have come from. But I've worked with people from all over. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how, I mean, I guess we still have, but it seems like they're tearing apart at the seams or breaking apart these structures that we've always looked on as an absolute truth, right? Like the office space, the 9 to 5, or schools, or brick and mortar stores. All these things are starting to devolve in front of our very eyes, and we realize that we actually can. And I'm not saying it's a better way. I'm just saying, like, now this is the path that a lot of people are going on. Kids are learning in school, even working out. There's online classes, and people are working from home, doing their workouts from home, and people are physically working from home or working from. I've had people that live on a boat. On the podcast, and they live on a boat and they make money from that boat, travel vlogging or doing other freelance work. And like yourself, you're in Greece, you're in Bulgaria. It's a whole new, and I'm sure this isn't like brand new. I'm sure this is kind of a work in progress, and it's been happening for a few years, but 2020 just seems like that whole thing has just exploded, right? At least that's what I
Absolutely.
see.
No, absolutely. It's actually really interesting because, this year I feel like everybody kind of realized. So, for years, people always just saw me traveling all the time. They're like, oh, it must be nice to be on like a, vacation all the time.
Yeah.
And I'd always say like, no, I'm actually working. Like I work a lot. I just work from all these different places. And I feel like this year, for the first time, people understand that this lifestyle isn't actually that easy. Like working from home comes with a lot of challenges. And, like you have to be super structured. You have to be, you have to have your routine. You have to be kind of strict with yourself. And yeah, I guess us like digital nomads, or who have been, we've been preparing for this year. the home workouts, I've been doing those, it's like, this is,
Yeah.
I've got this.
I was laughing the other day. I was like, all these, preppers and apocalypse. I don't know what you call them, but these people that have been waiting for the apocalypse forever, and they have these, bunkers underneath their house. They're probably laughing at everyone right now. They're like, "We told you, we've been ready. We got guns, we got beans, we got water, a generator. We're ready." And everyone's like, trying to get toilet paper in the supermarket. It's like, yeah, you never know when shit hits the fan. It's this. I feel like this year has made a lot of people feel very unprepared for things that could be, but they never thought about.
Yeah, it's definitely been different, I think. And, I mean, even for somebody like me who I'm used to being by myself, I travel solo a lot, and even being in total lockdown, because in Bulgaria, I mean, we were in total lockdown for it was like 2 or 3 weeks where we weren't even allowed to go outside to exercise, which I know was
Wow.
a thing that other countries could do. And so I was
Yeah.
literally in my apartment. I went out twice to go get groceries, and that was it. And I struggled really hard. Like, it was really a mental drain. And, as much as I thought like I was prepared for it with the lifestyle that I was living, it was still a really big challenge. And so I can imagine, especially, for everybody else who isn't really used to that, I guess, that must have been, twice as bad, I guess.
Yeah. So what was kind of your path? You said you sold everything and then you headed to South America.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, so generally I spend about, like, I would say a month to 2 months usually in each place. I try to anyways, because I mean, especially South America is just so big. So I started in Argentina, which is just massive. And I think I spent about 2 months in total there. Um,
Okay. Where did you go in Argentina?
so I started in Buenos Aires, which is really cool. And then I just kind of made my way all the way south.
Yeah.
So went as far south as possible. And then I actually kind of made a massive bucket list check come true, which the house sale helped, which was going to Antarctica.
Ooh.
Um, yeah. So it's really great because if you, like, not a lot of people know this, but because I mean, that's obviously a massive bucket list check and super expensive. But if you do it last minute, it's actually not cheaper, but it's much more affordable than it normally would be. So that's what I ended up doing down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so went to Antarctica, and then did Patagonia, some hikes there, and then made my way back up north and headed to Bolivia, which is probably one of my favorite countries in South America. It's so completely underrated, and it's just so many, like, outdoor adventures. It's really awesome and super affordable as well.
Where did you go in Bolivia?
So let's see, there was La Paz, and then Rurrenabaque, which is this tiny, tiny town in the Amazon, but you can go for, like, completely off the grid 3 days into the Amazon, like, just, go on hikes and see wild monkeys and all this stuff. So it was really cool. And then the Uyuni Salt Flats, which was the original reason I wanted to go there. For photography, it was just like a dream come true. So
Yeah. I was in South America in 2006, I want to say 6 or 7. And so I did kind of like Argentina, and then I started going up north, and Bolivia was one of the places I went. And for some reason, like, I don't know, I'm so stupid. Like, I didn't want to do like what all the touristy things were, or like what everyone else was doing. Although I ended up doing a lot of it, but so I didn't go to the Salt Flats. I didn't do Machu Picchu when I went to Peru. I was like, no, I don't want to do all the other things that everyone else is doing. And now I'm like, I probably should have. It looks beautiful. I kind of regret it.
no, I totally get it though. Like, I'm kind of the same way. I try to avoid, like, where all the tourists go. But yeah, so where did you go in Bolivia then?
Again, I'm horrible with names. I went to La Paz. I definitely went to La Paz. I went to a couple of other places. I don't remember the names. I went to the biggest. There's a city. So what I did was, I went from Brazil. I took a bus all the way into Bolivia, which took us like
Mhm.
almost 4 days. right? It was like almost 4 days on a bus. It was like all these back roads. And I thought at the time, we're like, because we were backpacking and we're like, yo, we're going to save money. It turns out that the flight would cost us about the same. And it would have, it was like 5 hours or 6 hours or something versus like a 4 day bus tour through like the Amazon. I was like, I'm so stupid, but it was an experience. But, I don't know, La Paz was beautiful. I remember it. I remember like vividly, like I did the death road
Oh,
on the
nice.
bicycle and a few other things that we did there, like ATVs. And yeah, it was a really, like you said, very underrated, like beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to do the death row. That was on my list as well, but I had to pick between more days in the Amazon or death road. So I went swimming with the pink dolphins in the Amazon instead, which
Ooh.
was also pretty cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, the long bus journeys they're very common down there. Although 4 days, I was gonna say like my longest to date is 30 hours on a bus. So you've got me beat with 4 days.
Yeah. No, it was horrible. Like it was really, really bad. And then when we got to Bolivia, there was no one at the border to let us in because I guess that there was a holiday or there was something. So the border was just wide open, and we were like, all right, what are we gonna do? So we just went in. It was just like no one at the border. And then later that caused like passport issues. It was a long story, but there was just it's a I mean, that was one of my favorite trips I've ever done. I think I was there for like probably 3.5 months or so, and the whole trip was, yeah, most of it was a lot of fun. So how was, I mean, high on my bucket list as well as Antarctica, but I saw a video where you kind of downplayed it. So essentially, like, I don't know, I think maybe you didn't have too much fun.
Oh no, I absolutely loved it. It was life changing. Yeah, I know which video you're talking about. I was trying to be funny. Clearly, that didn't really work. So I need to work on my humor. No, I absolutely loved it. It was just life changing. I mean, it feels like you're on another planet, because it's just so untouched from anything. There's nothing anywhere, and it's just nature and wilderness, and just it's wild. And like yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Like waking up at 5 a.m. and there's just whales feeding off the bow of the boat. And you're like, oh.
And are you on the boat the whole time, or did you sleep on land and like as well?
No, so I was on the boat the whole time because the only way that you can actually sleep on land is some tour operators offer like an overnight camping where you actually get to camp on the continent, but it's usually just like the one night camping. But that wasn't an option on the trip that I booked. So yeah, there's only so many different kind of operators that go. And usually most of it's quite the same. So you have like kayaking, you can go out kayaking, which if you happen to come across whales is probably one of the coolest things to do. But we also didn't have kayaking on our trip. But yeah, so there's quite a few different like kind of activities that usually come with, but you're always mainly based on the boat for however long the trip is.
And you go from Ushuaia, right, all the way down?
Yeah, so most of them start in Ushuaia. The one that I was on, we started in Punta Arenas, which is actually Chile, and we flew down. And then on the way back is when we did the Drake Passage up to Ushuaia, which that is supposed to be, I think they say like it's the Drake Shake or the Drake Lake. It's like one of the most notorious passages for having some really terrible waves and weather. And I was very disappointed. Ours was a really smooth crossing. I was ready.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah. For people who get seasick, it probably was great, but I wanted the adventure. I wanted the thrill, and I didn't get it. So I'm going to have to go back.
No, man, seasickness is a real thing. I remember when I was in Thailand and we were coming off one of the islands, and it was like a party island. So everyone, this is in the morning and everyone's hung over. And we had some choppy waters, and I kid you not, the whole like side of the boat was a line of maybe like 20, 30 people just all like hurling, like throwing up over the side of the boat. It was just, it was so disgusting.
I can imagine. Wow. It's a real thing. There were quite a few people that got ill on that. I think the closest I came to that was I did a crossing from Panama to Colombia on a sailboat, which is also probably one of the coolest things to do. And there was a guy on our sailboat who was sick the entire time, and you just kind of get used to it after a while. Like you're eating your dinner and he's just throwing up over the ledge next
Yeah.
to you and you're rubbing his back. You're like, it'll be okay as you keep eating.
It's gonna be all right, Tom. Just one more spoon of spaghetti.
Yeah.
I always think about the first explorers when I talk about it, anything like if it's in flight or people that went to the Arctic or Antarctica or even people that took boats from Europe into the Americas like 500 years ago. And I'm like, these people didn't have, technological advancements, didn't have the tools, didn't have the clothes, even like you're talking about going to Antarctica, like we have, down and we have Gore-Tex and we have the correct boots and, they had nothing. I mean, nothing that wicks moisture, nothing that really insulates you from cold or from the dampness. And somehow they made these journeys, I mean, a lot of people died, but somehow, some of them made the trips and the explorations, and just, I don't know, human ingenuity and I guess stupidity at times and bravery is just unmatched. It's really amazing.
No, I completely agree. Like, that was one thing that when I was down in Antarctica thinking about that, because obviously they talk about it a lot as well. And just learning that, people crossed the Antarctic and I'm down there wearing layers and layers and I'm on the Zodiac for like maybe 4 hours and I'm super cold and just happy to go back and like have a hot chocolate. And
Yeah.
then you think about, these people had none of that. And I mean, it was like days and weeks and months, that they spent, and the weather down there changes so fast. And it just really puts things in perspective for, how well we have it now, especially like with technology and all of that.
We forecast like the weather. We have boats that are icebreakers. There's just so much that we have now. And still, sometimes the elements get the best of us, right? And still, like, people die from frostbite, and like you're not completely shielded. But if you think about the people that first did it, it's like, wow, it's almost like they were made from something else that maybe we lost over the last few hundred years. I just don't think we're as maybe physically we are, but just mentally, I don't think we're as tough as perhaps people used to be.
No, I agree with that. I think we've gotten very comfortable. We have all these comforts, and it just, I don't know, maybe took that really, really hardened adventurous spirit out of us. I don't know.
Yeah, there's still a few, there's still a few crazies out there. There's still a few people that'll like, I don't know, cross the Arctic in Canada by themselves on a canoe or I don't know, do crazy stuff. And I think that's why we admire them. That's why we watch the documentaries and follow them, because it's like, so for us, it's so foreign, right? It's like, wow, I can't believe this human actually achieved this. But man, I don't know. I think we look for stuff like that to inspire us and we think to ourselves, oh, I could do that one day. I mean, yeah.
Nah, I agree. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing to admire, because I think it's part of our makeup is to question things and be curious and want to explore and want to learn more. And so, looking up to people who are actively doing that, I think it's healthy for us. It's a good thing to want to keep pursuing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think if you look at our evolution, I think for the most part, up until maybe 50 years ago or so, like, we've had it pretty hard, right? Like, life hasn't been easy for humans, from trying to find food to natural calamities and, fighting over territory. And it's just never been really easy up until, I don't know, 50 or 100 years ago or so, where technology has kind of made things a little easier for us. And I think it's almost like embedded in our DNA. And I think that's why you see people that want to do Tough Mudders and want to challenge themselves and we have that connection. Like we're like, oh, I'm a lazy piece of something. Like I don't want to, I'm just sitting all day. I'm not doing something. Look at that guy. He's so tough. He's doing this. He's doing that. I think it's something within us that, we want to challenge ourselves. We want to see if we can get through those mentally enduring and physical challenges. So that's why you're seeing like all these Tough Mudder type races and they have another name, Spartan races.
Yeah.
Like they're blowing up. They're so popular right now, and I think that's probably like it's got a piece of it.
Absolutely. And I think, a lot of it comes like when you actually do that, it's the gratification and the satisfaction with yourself. I think that's something we all need a little bit more of, because it just feels so good to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And I think even with travel, it just kind of comes down to that. It's like going somewhere new and not knowing what to expect. And then, knowing that you'll be fine regardless, no matter what happens. I think, it's all of that just, it's so good to push ourselves and always just challenge ourselves a little bit more. And it just makes us, well-rounded, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say.
Do you feel that? Like sometimes, when you travel by yourself and then, and you're obviously female, and you're obviously sometimes traveling by yourself in certain countries can be, it could be a little dangerous and sketchy. And do you feel that though sometimes when you're like, when you finish, let's say, a country, you're like, wow, I did really well. Like, good for me. I was all completely by myself and, I aced it. I don't know. Is there some sort of feeling of I achieved something?
I think so. Yeah. There's that, not necessarily maybe achieved something, but just that I can handle it. I think, and it's that like, I can handle whatever comes my way now. And even, whenever I do go to a new country, that fear is still there that, I don't know what to expect. And I'm still, I have that same kind of apprehension that most people would have, even though I travel all the time. And you would think that, it's just like normal now, but every place is different and you never know what to expect. So there's always that sense of, I can handle this. I can do this. And just a little little boost, a little confidence boost every time.
Were there, places or situations where there was, sketchy moments or something dodgy or where you felt unsafe?
Do you know what? Honestly, not really. I mean, I've been to some pretty sketchy places, but I've always kind of just kept like a really cool head. So I think one of the most like unnerving places that I've been was El Salvador, where basically, I mean, I love Central America, but of all places there, I mean, guns are pretty normal. So, I mean, there's, you go to a bakery and there's an armed guard standing outside, or the hostel I was staying at, the owner just, called a car to take me to the restaurant. And because, walking around at night was a little sketchy. So then you're at the restaurant. Yeah, absolutely. And, you're at the restaurant and then there's a guy with a shotgun walking back and forth in front of the window the whole time, guarding the place. And I remember I was actually walking down the street and just a pickup truck, full of just guys with machine guns and like bandanas covering half their face went by. And I was just like, all right, don't make eye contact. Everything's normal. Just keep walking. I don't know if they're official or if they're militia or what's happening, but just keep walking.
Could be both.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I mean, like usually, you get that sense in the pit of your stomach when you're like, ooh, this feels a little off. So I've always been really careful with that. And, I've got my like few little rules that I always stick to, which is, not ever, especially as a solo female traveler, like not ever getting like visibly intoxicated in public. If I arrive somewhere at night, somewhere new, that I always make sure that I have a car from the hotel that I'm staying at coming to pick me up, like just little things like that to kind of take that element out of it. Cause I think otherwise my mom wouldn't be okay with me doing all of this.
And I mean, she traveled with you, right? You went to I think it was Colombia together.
Yeah, we did.
How was that?
She loved it, which is actually really funny because yeah, Colombia was one of those places where I went by myself for the first time, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, like weren't you scared in Colombia?" I was like, "No, it's a great country. Like I'd never felt unsafe." And so I took my mom there, and yeah, we had a great time. We went to swim in a mud volcano, which is a super cool thing to do.
Oh wow, that sounds fun.
Yeah, and yeah, no, she loved it, and I actually took her to Machu Picchu as well when I was in South America. She flew down and visited me there, so it was cool.
I missed Machu Picchu. Yeah.
Do you know what? Honestly, like it's incredible, but I also don't really like those overrun kind of tourist places, and it was very much that. It's everybody's taking selfies everywhere, and not my favorite part of Peru, I will say.
Everyone's looking for that same image that they see on Instagram. It's that same with I think this is in Peru as well, but there's a picture that I've been seeing for the last 6 months or so of these like I think it's called the Rainbow Mountain in
Yeah.
Peru. And it's like this peak with like all these beautiful colors. And it's literally the same picture, like over and over and over again. It's almost like
Yeah.
it's a shame when someone does it justice and takes a good picture because it's, I mean, I get it. It's good, right? Because it's tourism and it drives tourism and Instagram definitely drives tourism. But on the other hand, it's like you kind of ruin the special thing that made it so, and now you got thousands of people coming there and it loses a little bit.
I agree. And so when I didn't go to the Rainbow Mountain when I was in Peru. There's actually another park that has a similar mountain at it that I went to instead. That's only been open for about a year or 2 years now. So I went a little bit off the beaten path there to explore that, which was really cool. So I didn't get that photo, but I struggle with that as well because obviously, like I create content, I create travel content and I have the Instagram, and it's really difficult to, not fall into that and want to get the same photo and whatnot. And
Yeah.
it's because obviously, from my perspective, like that content does well. People love seeing that. And then like trying to find something new and something different is a challenge. But this is why, like, I think I decided a while ago, like, I'm going to try to find some little gems, like this little island in Greece here that no one's ever heard of. And
Yeah.
I'll take photos here and hopefully help expand the horizons of beautiful, picturesque things that are out there.
Well, I think people appreciate that. I mean, because you kind of different, right? It's you give, or at least I think that's kind of your niche where you give tips on how to live on a budget, how to travel on a budget, maybe how to go to certain places and see things on a budget. Where a lot of the travel vloggers are a little bit more on the luxury side. They showing the nicest hotels and framing the picture with I don't know, as best they can to make it seem like it's the most exclusive place or shot on earth and looks like they're having the most fun. I don't know. I like it when it's more raw. I like it when it's like traveling isn't always this luxurious, and for the most part it's you're not showering and you're not sleeping enough and all these different things. And I feel like if you show that part, or if you show places that, not a lot of people are going, and because most people really can't travel that way. Most people do travel on a budget, right? So I just feel like it's a nice niche to get into, to show people, hey, like you don't have to go to all these popular places, all these other places that are just as beautiful, but not as touristy, and you can travel, and it's half price, right?
Yeah. No, I am. Yeah, I agree because for me, I mean, I'm self-funded, right? Like I have to pay for all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I can't afford to go to all these like luxurious places. And that's one big distinction that I always try to let people know, that there's travel influencers and then there's a digital nomad, which is what I am. So yeah, I have the YouTube channel and I have the Instagram, but I don't get paid to travel. Like I don't stay at hotels for free. Like I do this because I enjoy it. And then I get paid by working remotely, which is how most people travel continuously. They're, digital nomads. The travel influencer, that's a very small group of people, but they have the majority of the content creation market, right? So that's what we see. And we see all these luxurious places. And I always thought like I could never afford to go to these places. If I was looking for somewhere to stay, like that's not the resort I'm going to book. I can't afford that. So I decided, a while ago that if I'm going to share something, like I want it to be stuff that people can actually do. And I'll never, say like, hey, come stay at this place, when like I would never pay that price for it. You know?
And they're probably not even staying. I'm assuming for the most part they're just shooting there and then they're going to stay in another hotel, or you know what I mean? Like unless, I guess, it's always the top, I don't know, 0.1% that obviously have a major following, and they do get paid by hotels and by tourism industries to come shoot. But for the most part, I don't know. I like I said, I like it when it's raw. I like it when there's authenticity. I like it when there's, I understand clickbait headlines because, there's a lot of content out there and people have to want to press on it. But sometimes I feel like I like it when it's, if the headline and the video correlate, that's fine. But a lot of times there's videos where the headline has almost nothing to do with the actual video, and that's annoying. And there have been people where, I've clicked on a couple of headlines and the video itself just almost had zero to do with the headline. It was just sheer clickbait. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm not, I'm not going to watch these guys again. So, and especially when there's so much content and so much to choose from, like, I feel like authenticity, it keeps people coming back.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, and I think there's a big trend towards that right now as well with like travel vlogging. I mean, it's a hard niche to be in right now just because people aren't really traveling. So that's kind of made it really difficult. But no, I completely agree with you. And I mean, I could start ranting and raving about YouTube. And
we like ranting. No, I love ranting. It's all I do all day. All I do is rant.
But yeah, no, it's definitely difficult. And it's, I mean, for me, it's been a really slow process, like growing the channel, and it's a difficult game to win at and be good at, and avoiding the clickbait, like you say, it's definitely tough. But and it's hard to get it right because it is what gets the clicks. And at the end of the day, that's what you want, right? You want people to discover you, you want people to find you, and the right people will stick around. But yeah, it's tough. It takes up so much
time. All right, so let's switch it up a bit. I know you've been to, I think I saw somewhere over 50 countries.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's actually been exactly 50.
50? Wow.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Can you maybe name a few, and then do you have favorites? Do you have ones that stick with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's see, starting with Albania, I guess. I really liked. I went about 10 years ago and was actually on my list to go back. But when I went 10 years ago for the first time, like it was just one of those places that, again, was completely underrated. Like nobody really goes there. Even now, people have this kind of negative image of it, but the people are super nice. The food was amazing. Like I would go back just for the food alone.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like, because the views are, it's the Mediterranean. So it's very similar to kind of the Greek coastline. And yeah, but it was just way cheaper than Greece. So Albania is a good one. India was actually one of those. I went for a really short kind of work trip, but it was never on my list. It was never one of those countries where I was like, I really want to go to India, but I went and was absolutely blown away again by the food and the people. It was just a really, really incredible experience there. Bolivia is on that list, definitely. Let's see, what else? Goodness, Bulgaria that I ended up kind of making my sort of home base right now. Completely surprised me.
You've been all the continents.
Except for Australia.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the only one. And I wouldn't really, I mean, Africa, I still have a lot more to do. I've only been to Morocco, so I'm not really going to count that as the African. I know it's on the African continent, but there's so much more to Africa. So yeah.
Africa is huge. Yeah. People don't realize how big Africa is.
Oh yeah, it's massive. That's actually next, really high on my list is Africa and Central Asia.
Nice. Where? What countries?
So I really want to do Mongolia. I'd love to go out and stay in the yurts and kind of visit the eagle hunters and just see how they live. To me, that's so amazing. And then Kazakhstan, because I plan trips for people as well on the side. One of the many little digital nomad things I do. So I actually planned a trip for somebody to Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, and doing the research for it, I was just like, I have to go here. This sounds so amazing. It's, one of those off the beaten path places, and it's still really affordable. Tourism is kind of in its infancy still there. So it's definitely a cool place. Then Dominica is a big favorite of mine as well, which is in the Caribbean. It's this little island no one's ever heard of, but you can go swimming with sperm whales there, which is pretty cool.
What was it again? Sorry, it's a bit of a lag.
Oh, sorry, Dominica.
Oh, okay.
So it's like not the Dominican Republic, but just this little island. It doesn't really have any super beautiful beaches, but there's hikes, and you can swim with sperm whales, and it's a cool place as well.
Yeah. And what about it in Africa?
Let's see, there's so many places I want to go. I definitely want to do a safari anywhere and everywhere. I want to see all the animals. Zanzibar is pretty high on my list as well.
Namibia is beautiful.
Yeah. Have you been?
No, I mean, I've been to Africa, but not Namibia. I've been to South Africa, Swaziland, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Very cool. Which one of those would you recommend if I was going to start?
South Africa is beautiful. Really beautiful. But I was young. I think out of those, probably South Africa.
Nice.
Yeah,
right.
South Africa is beautiful. Cape Town, Durban, all those places. Cape Town's really the gem.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I haven't ever made it there yet, so it's definitely on the list.
One to add.
Yeah, my ever-growing travel list. It's like you think you're going to cross everything off, and then you just learn about new places and find new things to do, and then it just keeps growing.
Always. And even if you go to those countries, you can't go everywhere. There's just, some countries are so massive and there's so much to see. It's like even, I'm here in Connecticut and it's a relatively small state, but the amount of things that you can see, the amount of hikes, the amount of, I don't know, just there's so much to see. It's just to see Connecticut would take me a few years. And then it's a very small state. So, talk about a state like, I don't know, Texas or California or Colorado. It's like, it would take forever. It's literally impossible to see everything. So you just have to prioritize. You have to, what do I want to see? What landscapes, what countries, what cities, and go for that.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if anything, like this digital nomad life has taught me is that even if you spend months in a country, you won't see much of it, Yeah. I mean, I've been in Greece for 3 months now, and I feel like I've been to maybe 4 places, and it's, like a 4-hour drive each time. And it's just, there's so much to see and do in every place. So yeah, just never ending adventures out there.
Do you get a different perspective as to how people look at Americans versus maybe how Americans think they're viewed in the world?
Ooh, that's a dangerous thread to pull on. It's funny,
especially in the Trump era.
Yeah, I was about to say, especially recently. That's a tough question. Absolutely. So, because obviously, I mean, I lived in the States for a long time, and I sound American. So everywhere I go, people just assume that I am American. So I've had some interesting conversations with people in general. I mean, one thing that still holds true and is that people love the pop culture, like the iconic America, that I don't think that's ever gone away. Everybody still wants to see that. Everybody wants to, eat at a diner, and they want to see, the Rocky Mountains and all this stuff. Like that hasn't gone away at all. Like politically, I think it's completely different, but the basic of it now, that's still the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like most places you go, people are rooting for America. Like obviously, except for some places, there are enemies, but for the most part, I feel like they're rooting for America. There is this notion of, land of liberty, of justice, of American dream, and there's music and pop culture and tech scenes and just all this stuff comes out of the U.S. But I remember like a couple of years ago, I landed in Munich to go skiing in Austria, and literally, no, this was 2017 maybe, and literally the first thing I get into the taxi, the guy's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, USA. It's like Trump. Like I'm like, dude, yeah, like, I don't like him either. It's like, yeah, but what am I gonna do? But there's definitely been a shift. I feel like in the last few years, but I think, and again, like I've been abroad, a bit. I've been to Japan and Italy and Germany and Austria in the past few years, like in the last 3-4 years. And I definitely agree. I think they're rooting for us. Like they want America to, pardon the thing, but like be great again, but in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough. Like I have kind of the same sentiments. I mean, my mom and my sister still live there, and it's been tough because of, especially like this whole COVID situation and the way it's been handled there. Like I haven't been able to see them in a year, because they can't come see me because they're coming from the States, and it's just really, really difficult. So yeah, it's had some really interesting repercussions, but overall, I think you're right. Like everybody knows, like, they can do better. And so, yeah, it's definitely a rooting for.
Do you, when you travel, do you usually travel with more, or when you get to a place, like do you usually travel or meet more expats or more locals? Do you try to really embed yourself in kind of the culture and meet more locals and try more of the local stuff, or do you meet out and reach out to other expats and kind of travel together?
So I will say that it's definitely easier when you meet, because I usually go to co-working spaces. So you do meet a lot of other nomads or expats. And it does kind of make it easier, but at the same time, like you don't get as immersed, which usually I tend to like that a little bit better if I was to get immersed. Like, for example, I've been in Bulgaria for 8 months, and I barely know how to say hello and goodbye and all of that in Bulgarian. And it's, to me, like that's not right. Like I really should be learning the language if I'm there for that long, and I should be trying. And but also, then with moving around so much, it's like I can't learn every language as much as I would like to. I can't like physically fit that into everything that I'm trying to do as well. So it's definitely a tough point. I mean, I would like to be more immersed with the locals, but it's just not always feasible, I think.
Yeah. Have you had places where it's been tougher than other places with regards to language?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Bulgaria kind of was probably one of the toughest so far, just because it was learning a whole new alphabet. So learning the Cyrillic. And luckily, I took a Russian class back in college just for fun.
Oh,
so I had a little bit of a base of kind of being able to read it at least. But, I've gone pretty far off the beaten path there as well, where there isn't really any tourism, and getting into some of these restaurants and the entire menu is in Bulgarian. Luckily we have technology and I can use Google Translate to, scan and figure out what it says, but otherwise I'd be kind of lost. So it's pretty tough there. And, not everybody speaks English. And so that's been a challenge. I've had to use Google Translate quite a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And, whenever I hear people, there's this thing where people say like, oh, what superpower would you like to have? And people rattle off all these different things. I swear, I always say, if I could have a superpower, I would like to know how to speak all the languages. Like that would yeah, that would be my superpower. I'd just love to. I'm horrible with languages. I'm not good with languages, man. I know 2 languages well, and outside of that, like, I can put a few sentences in like maybe Spanish and maybe Russian and maybe Arabic, maybe. But I'm not good with languages, and it sucks because when you get to places, most people don't speak English. I mean, depends where, but a lot of places people don't speak English. And like, you just can't connect if you can't speak with someone, and you can't go to the local places and you can't get the best advice where to go. And it's one of those things where, I don't know how we bridge that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. When I started traveling, this kind of gives away my age a little bit, but I used to just buy the little phrase books, so I'd always, whichever new country I was going to, I'd buy like a little Czech phrase book, and then I tried to memorize those and use them or whatever for the week I was there. But I mean, especially now, with Google Translate, I don't even have to try, right? So it makes us a little bit lazy in that respect. But I mean, most of the time I found like people, as long as you're trying, then they're pretty understanding. And, I mean, I've had some fun conversations where neither one of us understood what the other was saying, but, with hands and feet and whatnot, you're communicating and, it just works out. I mean, actually, probably one of my favorite stories of that is one of my friends who doesn't speak any Spanish, but we got into a taxi somewhere in Central America, I think. And I speak Spanish well enough to get around and whatnot, but he doesn't speak any, and ended up having a conversation with the taxi driver just about football, just saying the different words and the expressions, the players' names and then this and that. And it works out somehow, and you can still connect on like little things like that.
Dude, sports is an equalizer everywhere. Sports is a big equalizer. If you go to a country that loves football and, you love the teams there, as long as you say some of the names, you can connect with people, man. It's true.
Yeah, no, sports, that's always been a really good one for me. And especially because like I'm German. So obviously a lot of people, especially in South America, I found like they love Germany and German football. So I was always able to talk to them about that. Yeah, they always get really excited, like, ooh, Germany, and talk about the players there. And it's a good thing that I myself am a bit of a football fan. So, I have that to fall back on if I ever have to.
What's your team?
So I generally mainly just support the national team.
Okay.
I'm not really. I mean, if I had to pick a league team, that would be Bayern Munich, mainly because they have and had some of my favorite players. But yeah, I do like the World Cups and the Euros, and I'm very sad that didn't happen this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're saying about the Olympics, they might push it to 2021, but even then, I think they're just going to skip it altogether. I think they're just going to do 2024 because, I just don't see a whole bunch of people flying out there next year and packing stadiums unless they come up with the vaccine sometime later this year or early next year, and then but I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
No, I agree. Like it's such a tough situation right now. And, everybody's saying like in the travel industry, like, oh, as soon as travel's open, like everyone's just going to start traveling and go out and travel as far and as much as they can. But I still think a lot of people are going to be really hesitant. people are going to be concerned about it and worried about it until there is a vaccine. And it's, even for me, somebody who travels a lot, like I have that apprehension as well of, being in an airplane, like being in an enclosed space.
Yeah.
It's definitely changed a lot of the way we travel and the way we're going to be. And I think, next year is probably almost a bit too soon at this point.
Yeah. Push it back, Tokyo. Push it back. I'm also someone that loves traveling. I've been to all the continent, well, except Antarctica. But when I start to think sometimes like why I love traveling, and I haven't done anything extensive like you, obviously, not like something like a 2 year of nonstop traveling, but I think the longest is maybe 5 months. But when I think about it, there's the obvious, right? Like, you get to see new places, have experiences. But I don't know, I feel like if you peel back some layers and you start to kind of be a bit more introspective, I feel like it's almost like an education or something changes within you after a while, right? Like I remember when I was in South America, after about 2 months of traveling, you just, and I'm sorry if I'm botching it, like I'm not even going to be able to properly explain it, but there's just something sets in and you just feel different. And maybe you can verbalize it better than I can if you feel it, but like I know that just something changes within you after a while.
No, it's it's this thing that I always try to put into words, and you're right, it's so hard to put that into words that change, because you're not the same person anymore. And I for me, the way I always try to say is that when you step outside of the world that you've kind of accepted as your little bubble, and you get out there and you see someone else's day to day, and their day to day is so different than yours, and you just start to realize how small you are in comparison to everything else, and almost like how insignificant you are, which is in turn really humbling. But then it also kind of gives you this thirst and like wanting to understand things and wanting to see more and wanting to understand more. And it just creates this, like, I think, kind of drive for learning and appreciating each other and other people and other cultures. And I think it's a really healthy education. Like I said, it is an education. It's a learning that happens. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's one of the best things we can do. For me personally, like, it's changed my life. It's helped me in dealing with, whatever has happened in my life and whatever bad things have happened. It just kind of helps you piece together bad parts and helps you to kind of look forward and find yourself and lose yourself and all of that. And it just makes for a really, I don't know, enriching experience. I'm just going to babble on about this.
No, you're right though. You're right. And I feel like, the more people travel, the less likely they are to hate other people. I mean, you could have a bad experience and be narrow-minded and say like, oh, everyone's like this from this country. But I feel like for the most part, when you travel and you see, oh, wow, this food is so different, but it's, really tasty. And you get to see the different country and you see that pretty much, people have the same wants and needs, and, they love their family and they want to be educated and want to have income and they want to have respect. And you kind of see that while we are different, I'm not saying everyone's the same. People are very different, but on the fundamental base, we're all the same. We all want the same fundamental things that humans desire. And traveling really allows you to see that with I think, a new set of eyes that maybe just watching it on the internet or seeing films just doesn't allow you the same perspective.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It lets you then, when you get back home, even you look at your surroundings differently, because you have this like new understanding and you see that, fundamentally we are all the same. And that was one thing that I remember which I think probably led me to eventually selling everything, was I spent a lot of time in Central America where, people have very little and it's a very, very different life. And I would get home to, this 3-bedroom house and this massive refrigerator, and walk into the supermarket and there's just aisle and after aisle after aisle of food and choice. And like, this is something that other people don't have. And you realize how little you actually need. And you don't need all of that. You don't need all this space. You don't need all these gadgets and things. And you don't need the massive supermarket. Like, you can get by and live and be happy with very little. And that was a really big kind of realization for me. And I think, in general, like, travel lets us appreciate what we have and realize how little we actually need. I mean, you probably felt the same when you went backpacking, and, you can only take as much as you can carry and you can't take more than that. And you realize that you don't actually need all the stuff you took anyways.
Yeah, we need community, we need food, we need to shared experiences. Material things, we need some, but we buy more than we need. I mean, people have storages just filled with crap that they're never going to use. They have houses with rooms filled with stuff that they've stopped using or bought and used once. And yeah, it's just, we buy more than we need, 100%. There's just, and now it's even easier, right? You don't even have to go to a store. I can just sit here at home and just click away and just buy whatever I want, and it's going to show up, within 1 to 3 days. So it's getting easier. But yeah, we don't just buy things that'll just enrich your experiences. Buy a snowboard, go snowboarding, buy some good hiking boots, go hiking. Like, just like, we don't need so many things. We need a few things, and we need to go have shared experiences with people that we love, with our dogs. It's just, it's pretty simple.
All right. No, I completely agree with that. Like, if something allows you to have an experience, and make memories, whatnot, then like, go for it. Because that reminded me, I have a new snowboard that I can't wait to try out in the next
which
2
one?
months. I bought, let's see, I had the old Solomon. I bought a new Ladies' Choice. I've never had a new board before, so we'll see.
Is that the brand, Ladies' Choice?
No, that's the board itself. The brand is new. I'm probably butchering saying it. GNU.
Oh, GNU. GNU, yeah. Yeah, GNU.
I butchered it.
No, yeah, you're good. I was debating between the GNU Headspace and the LibTech Orca last year, and I ended up buying the LibTech Orca, and I love that board. It's tank. It's amazing. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm excited because my board's like 10 years old now. I had a Solomon before, which I actually really liked, and it was good.
Me too. I also had a Solomon. Yeah, the great boards.
Yeah, really, they are, and yeah, but it's like 10 years old now, so I'm excited to get to spend a season trying out a new one. It'll be good.
Where are you gonna go?
I'm going to go back to Bulgaria, back to Bansko. So I think I'm going to spend the season there again. Hopefully they'll open. If they don't, then I will find somewhere else in Europe to go, I think.
Yeah. I know people go to, I know some people go to Romania as well. They have, I forget the name of the place, but they have like a mountain there for snowboarding. I'm blanking on the name, but supposedly it's it's budget friendly. It's nice. I don't know how big it is, but I feel like Bulgaria, Romania, all those areas are probably relatively same size, same budgets.
Yeah, it's super budget friendly. Not necessarily the lift pass, I will say, because the lift pass itself is pretty pricey, I thought. Because I think it was like 30 euros for the day or something like that, which is, still cheaper than, some of the places you find in the Alps. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Like accommodation wise and food wise, Bulgaria is super cheap. The mountain itself, yeah, like I could see after a season or two, like you get a little bored of it because there isn't
Yeah.
too much. You know, it's not the same. Like, because I grew up skiing and snowboarding in Austria, where I mean, the Alps is just incredible. And I've been to Whistler, which Whistler is, I mean, just amazing and insane in terms of size and runs and length and all of that. But yeah, so it doesn't really compare to those places, I would say, but it's fun. It's a fun place to
Yeah.
go for sure.
Yeah. It's a mountain. It's got snow.
Exactly.
It's
That's all
okay.
you
It's
need.
okay.
Are you planning on going anywhere to ride this winter?
So yeah, I think I'm just gonna do like day trips up to Vermont and, or maybe do like a weekend. I have Mount Snow that's not too far away. Stratton's not too far away. Maybe do Stowe or Killington. I don't know. We'll see how the weather is as well. Like what part of the mountain, what part of of Vermont gets more snow, and try to kind of play it by ear, see how it goes. Yeah. I can't wait. I'm excited.
I know. I've been trying to make summer last as long as possible so that I can just get right back into winter.
Yeah, I'm hoping it comes early this year. We'll see.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'd be good if it did.
well, Linda, I want to thank you so much. I had a really fun time, in this conversation. And where can people find you online? What's the best platforms?
So best is going to be on YouTube as Life by Linda is the channel, and on Instagram, which is life.by.linda. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's
Cool.
me. And thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah, same. I really had a blast. I'll make sure to link everything in the show notes for you guys so you can check it out. And yeah, go follow her. Maybe you'll get inspired to do some traveling, even in these COVID times. I know it's a little bit tough, but still possible. And yeah, maybe 2021 will be a little easier for everyone.
Yes, let's hope so.
Cool, Linda. Best of luck with everything. Hopefully, you'll have a good snowboarding season. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Maybe we'll do it again next year.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much. You too. Have a good snowboard season as well.
Cool. Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.